Namaste. Good evening to all. This is a wonderful occasion. We are having another AYUR talk. I know that we are all going through a very difficult time in this globe, especially India, as far as COVID pandemic is concerned. But this is also the time for us to retrospectively look at the wisdom that we have generated in the past 1 year, more than that, in the management of this pandemic. And today, for AYUR Talks, we have none other than the person who had led the entire process of research and activities related to Ayush in the domain of science with us, Dr. BHUSHAN. As you all know, AYUR Talks is a place where we are trying to identify or look for wisdom rather than trying to present you data. And I'm sure that Dr. BHUSHAN Patwardhan is the best opportunity that we can have to get the distilled wisdom of what had happened in Ayush sector during this entire year, during the pandemic. AYUR Talks had been imagined as this platform and supported by Vijnana Bharati to be created. And World Ayurveda Foundation had worked behind it to create this as a major, like online platform where we can have our discussions. We are associated with National Ayurveda Students and Youth Association in delivering our thoughts to the community. In fact, Nasya is planning one of the largest programs for Ayush doctors across the country, involving more than 1,000 Ayurveda doctors delivering care for COVID patients. We are also happily associated with the Journal of Ayurveda Integrative Medicine, and which is the top journal in the world as far as Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine is concerned. We are proud to be associated with that. With this short introduction about us and ourselves, let me request Dr. Pawan Kumar Godutwa to ask his first question to Dr. BHUSHAN.
BHUSHAN sir, namaste once again.
Namaste.
You have been our guiding light for the Ayurveda fraternity, how to go about, how to combat this corona. Sir, one pertinent question coming to my mind is last year we were having ashwagandha as the drug of choice, and now the Ayush Ministry and all the associated associations, organizations have rolled out this Ayush 64 to the doorstep of COVID-19 patients. So why this transition from ashwagandha to Ayush 64? What are the processes and thought processes behind these rollouts? What is your take, sir? Your guided experience.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pawan Kumar. And again, it's a pleasure to be back with AYUR Talks and World Ayurveda Foundation. My greetings to all of you and all the sponsors, Dudh Papeshwar and Arya Vaidyashala, Kotakal, and Nasya, and all those who are really contributing to this very, very important initiative that World Ayurveda Foundation has taken. The first question, it is, Dr. Pawan, this is not actually a transition, this is a continuum. And there are several parallel activities that are going on. And we are not transiting from ashwagandha to Ayush 64 or something like that. Everything has its own place, and several studies are underway. And as we are getting results, we are informing people about the benefits of those particular medicines. So last time when we talked about, we spent more time on ashwagandha, and at that time we were on the verge of starting various clinical and preclinical studies on ashwagandha. And there is a lot of data on ashwagandha to show that ashwagandha has immunomodulatory activity, which we discussed during our last session. Now, what you asked is about Ayush 64. Just about a week or 10 days back, we received data from clinical trial which just concluded, and that was on Ayush 64. As all of us know, that Ayush 64 is a polyherbal Ayurvedic formulation which was developed by Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Sciences, or CCRAS, in 1980s. And this drug was prepared for the treatment of malaria. That time, this drug was also used for various different kinds of illnesses, including common flu, influenza-like disease. It was also used in various kind of viral fevers. It was used in chikungunya-like situations. So a lot of different viral disease-related conditions. Ayush 64 has been used since 1980. Now, last year when we were planning several studies, we thought that while drugs like hydroxychloroquine, which was also developed primarily for malaria, was getting repurposed, we thought that why not we also look at our own drugs. That Ayush 64 was one of the strong recommendation for this purpose. As you know, Ayush 64 comprises of four medicinal or Ayurvedic plants. I will not go into the botanical names, but the common names in Hindi or Sanskrit are Saptaranga, or Kutki, then Kanta Karanja, and Kirayat. These are all known medicinal plants. They are known to be safe, and this Ayush 64 has shown that time very good efficacy against malaria and influenza-like illnesses. Now, what we did this time is we planned a randomized controlled clinical trial of Ayush 64. And that trial results are just out. So we informed these trial results to people. And what we did that in COVID-19 situation, we tried to see whether Ayush 64 can be effective in improving clinical outcomes, especially in asymptomatic, mild and moderate COVID-19 patients, both as a standalone or as an adjunct. When I say as an adjunct, it means that we are giving Ayush 64 in addition to standard of care.
Yes.
And the results show that there has been significant improvement in various clinical parameters, and Ayush 64 as an adjunct has led to a lesser period of hospitalization as compared to standard of care. Now, Dr. Pawan, you will agree that even if you are able to reduce the hospitalization period
Yes.
by 2 days or 3 days, it's a major, major achievement, because already the load on hospitals is increasing. And if patients are able to relieve early, then that was really this particular result which we have observed is very important. I must mention that these clinical trials have complied with good clinical practices. So the very stringent protocol was prepared. Dr. Arvind Chopra, who is the renowned immunology, rheumatology clinician, he developed that protocol under the with the help of team of many experts, including pulmonologists, immunologists, and Ayurvedic physicians. And these clinical trials, after the protocol was developed, it was stringently peer reviewed, it was modified. We also had shared these protocols with ICMR experts. After doing all that, this protocol was used for randomized trials at reputed hospitals. One of them was in Lucknow, King George Medical University in Lucknow. Another one was Bruhan Mumbai Corporation's COVID treatment center in Mumbai. And another one was Datta Meghe Institute of Medical Sciences along with CCRS Institute in Wardha. So this was a multi-center clinical trial, randomized controlled clinical trial with statistically powered clinical trial. So it was really very interesting to know. We were also anxious to know what the results we are able to get. And in addition to the lesser period of hospitalization, the clinicians also observed that the safety and efficacy of Ayush 64 also was very satisfactory, and these studies were also conducted at Government Medical College in Nagpur, or Tibia College and Hospital in New Delhi, and Dhanvantari Ayurveda College and COVID Center in Chandigarh. So it's a huge effort of not just one small clinical trial, but a network of hospitals who are conducting this clinical trial. The outcome of 7 clinical trials has revealed that Ayush 64 is safe and tolerable. It exhibits early clinical recovery in COVID-19 cases without further progression. In the added, this is the added benefit of improved general well-being. The typical kind of exhaustion patients face, or mental stress they face in the Ayush 64 group. Patients recovered from all these health related or well-being related parameters also were very strong. And I must tell you that these trials were all monitored by a monitoring committee chaired by Dr. Vishwamohan Katoch, who was earlier Director General of ICMR and Secretary, Department of Health Research. There is also independent data safety monitoring board that was looking after these kinds of studies. In short, I would tell you that Ayush 64 has emerged as a very good adjunct treatment to reduce the hospitalization and improve well-being and health of people without compromising their health. In fact, improvement in health and general well-being. So what else we want? We have a safe, well-tested Ayurvedic medicine which is standardized chemically. So quality control has been done very well. So reproducible quality is assured, and this drug is safe and tolerable. So we release these data in a press conference, and that's what now the Ministry of Ayush is distributing Ayush 64 at various locations free of cost, so that more and more people can get benefit of this. Dr. Pawan, this is one step, in which we are trying to show that Ayurvedic medicines, if tested, also stand on the scientific parameters. And this is just a beginning. I must tell you that there is a whole lot of clinical trials which are going on at present. And one by one, we are now started getting results of them. And several clinical trials have already been concluded, and data compilation is going on. I'm sorry for this long answer, but unless I tell you what is the big picture and what is happening, the Ayush 64 relevance would not have been clear. But it was a great question to begin with. Thank you for that. I hope I have addressed.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot for bringing us up to date on the background, what is happening. I'm now relieved about the other very miraculous drug, Guduchi. I spoke only of ashwagandha, but on the back of my mind was Guduchi also. So now all those things are clear, how these things, they are in the pipeline. So we await those miraculous things. Thank you, sir. Bhushanji. Gitaji, your turn now.
Thank you, Pawanji. Sir, there was one question which I always wanted to ask in the past, 3-4 months, which I somehow forgot to ask you whenever I met you. So, what is the difference? What do you do as a national Ayush professor? We would like to know about that, and we would also like to know, in the past 1 year, there is a lot of achievements. There are a lot of developments, and I understand, because I had been fortunate to work with you in few areas, in the wide spectrum of areas where you're working. I understand that there are future plans for Ayush. It is not a COVID-related plan alone that you are actually right now heading Ayush towards. Can you just give us a glimpse of where we are and what is happening?
Yeah. See, during last 1 year especially, we have ramped up various kind of scientific studies on Ayush interventions, Ayush concepts. And my role actually as National Research Professor, Ayush is not new. I have been doing it. But after I completed my formal tenure with UGC, Ministry has designated me with this new title. So I am now back to Pune from earlier administrative responsibilities at the UGC. Now I'm back at my lab and my university, Savitribai Phule University, where the Center of Excellence supported by Ministry of Ayush exists. And at the Interdisciplinary School of Health Sciences, we will undertake many new clinical studies, many new scientific studies to really come out with more and more evidence in support of Ayush interventions. While doing so, we will also keep on interacting with global community and see that how the quality of scientific studies and the evidence levels go up, and how people's, or I would say scientists outlook to look at Ayush changes for good. As Ayush Research, National Research Professor, I also intend to interact with various Ayush institutes spread across country, and I have already started doing that. My first interaction with the faculty of Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga I just concluded, and I intend to do with practically all national institutes and CCRS and other council staff members. So this is essentially, Gita, is capacity building exercise in which we really want to prepare Ayush faculty, which is there in different colleges or in different universities or different institutions, to empower them, to motivate them to undertake more and more systematic, robust research. So this is one of my activity. As in addition to my own research, this is what I intend to do. Now, just to give you a glimpse of what we are at present doing, and that is also during last 1 year, various research studies related to COVID-19. If I want to tell you just the numbers, these numbers may change by one or two, because I'm not giving you exact precision in these numbers, but it will give your viewers, what kind of different activities are underway, especially for COVID-19 related. See, total number of studies which Ministry of Ayush has either supported or undertaken or associated with is about 120. Now, out of 120 studies, there are 41 studies which are related to prophylaxis. So, use of Ayush interventions as prophylactic agents, 41 studies. There are interventional studies about 37. About 10 studies are observational studies, in which there are few studies are also retrospective studies. There are several preclinical studies happening, in collaboration with reputed institutions, including DBT institutions such as THSTI, which is in Delhi. And the results of these studies are very, very encouraging. There are several other studies which are happening system-wise. If I want to tell you, there are 60 studies on Ayurveda, 26 studies on homeopathy, 13 studies on Siddha, 8 studies on Unani, and 13 studies on yoga and naturopathy. We already have concluded some studies. There are 46 research manuscripts which are in the process of drafting. Compilation of the data and drafting the manuscript, that is going on. Already 3 studies we have been able to publish in reputed journals. 3 studies. One of them is data which has come out with Ayush Sanjeevani app. That whole data, that analysis has been recently published in one of the journal. Another, just 2 days back, we got a final acceptance from another reputed peer-reviewed journal of a study which was concluded at Jamnagar, and this study also very soon the final print will come. There we have made a strategy, Dr. Geeta, that without waiting for because publication, as you know, is a long process and it takes more time. We are likely to get several rejections also. So what we decided that we should assign mentors for each investigator or each study. So that mentor can help the study group to organize that data properly so that the quality of draft is improved, And once the mentor, and we have, I must thank all the mentors, and I know that you are also, Dr. Geeta, one of the mentors who has helped this. So these mentors have really done a remarkable job. and they have handholded the research group, because investigators are busy in clinics, so they have very little time or even expertise for that matter for scientific publishing, how to really convert that data into publishable document. So that help mentors are giving, and because of that help, the three papers have already been published, and we have taken a policy decision that the moment mentor feels that this particular manuscript is ready to be submitted for any journal, that time the authors can decide and go for a preprint. But there is a condition that if you go on a preprint route, then within 6 months you must publish it in reputed journal. If not, then that preprint is not going to be considered. So such 11 preprints have already been published in good preprints, and in preprints also there are good and bad preprints, so we have given a list of 100 journals and about 6 preprints, from which the authors can select, So most of these studies are monitored by Data Safety Monitoring Board and Monitoring Committee, and many of them, I must tell you that there are some gaps, because while these studies were being planned, we had no time. At that time, everybody was under pressure. So there could have been some holes, some gaps, some deficiencies while developing protocols, and because of these deficiencies, each of these study may not result in a good publication. But even if we are able to publish sizable number of clinical trials from this, I think this is going to be a remarkable contribution during this COVID year from the Ayush. I have a lot more things to talk, but I think I will stop at this stage and look for another question. I don't want to really spend more time on each of the question, but I must tell you that there is so much that is happening, that this kind of a 1 hour only from me is not sufficient, because what I am telling you is not what I have done, what I have gathered from the whole group. Hundreds of Ayush scientists are working all over, so it's a huge data, it's a hard work, it's a huge effort which is going on. I'm just giving few glimpses for the benefit of all the viewers through our talk today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is said that a crisis is an opportunity, and it should be considered as an opportunity. And I think Ayush Ministry did so wonderfully well under your guidance to make that into a wonderful opportunity. I hope that all these publications happen, and the science will develop much further through Ayurveda and this particular grim time in our life. I would request my sir.
Sir, I have been reading you since very long. You said in passing that you you are telling of what others have done and not what you have done. Sir, are you there? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So I will be asking you what you have done. Some question. I have been reading you in even Maharashtra Times, not just editorials of JIM. I am very big fan of you. If not Bal Phonke or Jayan Nardikar or say Robert Feynman, I know that you can bring the hardcore science to layman's language also. So I will be asking what you have been doing. So 2-3 things, if you can explain what is this docking and in silico, which are in vogue these days, especially regarding ashwagandha. So what shall we understand by these repurposed drugs and docking and in silico testing of Ayurvedic drugs? Very new terms in Ayurvedic research methodology.
Yeah, Dr. Pawan, you are shifting gear, totally, completely. But that is interesting. Your question is very interesting. So from COVID, we are coming now to the mainstream of drug discovery and development issue, in which docking is used as a tool. So when we say docking, people may not know exactly what this docking is. Molecular docking or molecular modeling is typically a in silico. They also call it as in silico. Like we have in vivo, in vitro, these terms. In silico is relatively a new term which has come because of use of these techniques not only in wet lab but in the computer environment. So in silico is all simulated modeling, all these techniques are used in this, and it is done with computers and suitable softwares. So there are several docking softwares which are used, and to understand docking well, we have to understand few terms. Uh, for example, if most of us have studied biochemistry, so we know enzyme and substrate, and we say that enzyme substrate is like lock and key. So there are big locks, but keys could be small. The small key can open big locks very easily. So this kind of a exercise, to find out the right key for complicated locks is a docking study, if I want to tell you in short.
Yes,
And what
got
are
it.
these big locks? These big locks are macromolecules. They are also called as receptors or host or lock, in short term. So they are actually the receiving molecules. And most of them are macromolecules like proteins, peptides, nucleic acids, carbohydrates, or lipids, or many other biological polymers. And the other key part is they are called as ligands. And these ligands are complementary partner molecules which binds to the receptor. So this receptor binding is extremely important, because if your key is not fitting in the required conformation in the lock will not open. So how do you find it? You have to prepare that key. You must have seen those people now use computer software to prepare new keys. So they can prepare keys very easily in a using that computerized machine. So similarly, docking also, there are ways and means by which you actually can model the macromolecule like protein. What is its whole structure, three-dimensional structure, and which part of that protein is that receptor sitting. And to what is the conformation of that receptor. And to fit into that receptor conformation, which kind of small molecule structure is necessary. All that otherwise was very difficult and time consuming. Now because of this laboratory computer based software, docking software, it has become relatively easy. So in docking software, you can actually come out with or you can feed a series of small compounds and a series of macromolecules, and it finds the matches. So for this particular protein or for this particular molecule, to modulate that molecule, which key can fit in. So this software can, out of thousands of molecules which you feed in, that will fit that which small molecule fits best in this particular structure. These are the docking studies in short. There are several other in silico technologies which are coming up in drug discovery and development. Another one which is called as network pharmacology. In network pharmacology also, this is in silico tool in which we put biomolecules with different structures. We find out that which of these biomolecules are interacting with which targets. So we get a new cluster of biomolecules and target interactions, and these targets are connected to which diseases. That another circle we can have of. So this kind of a network of biomolecules with targets, with diseases, with genes also you can involve. So it's a very complex, but it becomes easy because of the computational power. Now, to further understand this, how these are used in drug discovery is very interesting. Drug discovery has gone through several phases. And now, in the meantime, there was a new tool which was coming out called as combinatorial chemistry. Combinatorial chemistry meaning very rapidly you are able to synthesize similar kind of chemical compounds, which are otherwise it is very difficult to prepare them in chemistry laboratory. Through automated systems, thousands of such similar structure compounds can be prepared. And now, if you are preparing these thousands and thousands of small chemical compounds, and if you want to study them, in different proteins or other macromolecules, it is not easy. So for that purpose, these docking softwares have been developed, and it is called as high throughput technologies. So these are high throughput technologies, because if you want to test thousands of chemical compounds on hundreds of macromolecules and find out where what is fitting, so this kind of a jigsaw puzzle, then these softwares come very, very handy. And you may have heard these terms called affinity. So what is the affinity level, and all these are so you may have read those papers that ashwagandha, some of the molecules in ashwagandha have shown affinity to some proteins which are there in or which are of importance in SARS CoV-2 virus. So these kind of experiments are done in silico, which gives us some idea that which molecules can be useful in which conditions. But I must tell you, Dr. Pawan, that these are speculative and these are in silico. So unless you take these observations to wet labs and test actually on molecules or in cells, on tissues, in animal models, the docking studies only cannot confirm what you want to say. So docking studies are mere tools, to expedite your experimental methodology and to get some clues, I will say, to plan your in vitro and in vivo experimentation. It's a very complicated subject. It is very difficult to explain in such a short time. But since you asked about this docking, I thought that I must talk about receptor and drug and these affinity and all these complicated terms. But it is an exciting and interesting science. So docking as well as network pharmacology, these tools are very, very useful in natural product drug discovery. And why? Last point I will tell you, because normally in chemistry laboratory, if you want to make thousands of similar looking small molecules, then you need this robotic machinery. But in natural chemistry, in natural chemistry, meaning when you are getting a plant extract, this plant extract, they already have series of different compounds in making, So plant extracts are natural combinatorial molecule repository, So they are already there. So these become extremely important, and therefore natural products, many times we say that Ayurveda don't believe in isolating one particular compound. No, one particular compound isolation is not necessary always, because if you have a mixture of several similar compounds, it is possibility that at least one of those compounds may fit in and work as a key to open up that lock, what we call a receptor lock, and stimulate biological reaction. And that is what I also started believing more in understanding the extracts as a whole, rather than only every time trying to see which molecule works where. It is important to understand which molecule works, but the complex Ayurvedic way to give polyherbal formulation, now because of these docking studies and network pharmacology, we have some scientific tools to understand what must be the rationale behind these Ayurvedic medicines.
Great, sir. Now that you are at the hem, I hope that the affinity of you with Ayurveda will definitely bringing the capacity building in these areas also for the Ayurvedic institutes. We will look forward for that partnership, sir. Geeta ji.
So because of the time, we cannot run away from COVID. So I'm still coming back.
Absolutely.
What I want to ask is, if we move forward ourselves about 2 years from now, hopefully, we will be speaking about a time before COVID and after COVID. Through COVID, anyway, we have to walk through. There's no other way. Then we have to go through that. Sir, what do you think Ayush has to do? What kind of a revolution has to happen within the Ayush system, or entire Indian system of health and knowledge, that Ayush can serve better the community, especially in India and probably across the globe? What is your opinion, sir? What do you see?
Yeah, I think, Geeta, it's a very loaded question, but I think Ayush has a lot to give to the world. Today, the world is becoming more and more medicalized. And I must tell you that Ayush way to look at this is not only through medicine. And this has come out very, very strongly when people are experiencing this COVID pandemic, So managing COVID pandemic, when there is acute need, medicines will be there. But I have seen several people after coming from hospital, they are feeling so weak because of these different antibiotics, and they are just looking for some kind of a better support to get healed better. So Ayush in short, or Ayurveda and yoga and others, they have a role to play to bring health on forefront. Today medicine is on forefront, Dr. Geeta. Today we are thinking that we will be able to get health by taking medicine. This is what has come to our mindset, unfortunately. So this change in mindset, which is required, very much required for the global community, I think Ayush can do it very, very well. And the process has started because, or rather expedited, because of this COVID-19 situation. You may have heard, you are in Geneva, but I know that you keep track of what is happening in India. It is just last week only, Ministry of Ayush has issued a notification in which now formally Ayush doctors will be able to take part in management of COVID, clinical management of COVID also. So there is a huge infrastructure of Ayush. There is a huge human resource trained in Ayush. There is a huge expertise and knowledge available in Ayush, and global community need that, because today global community is getting more and more convinced that our current model of cure oriented or disease oriented is not going to be sufficient, and now they are talking about more of a holistic management, more of a more focus on prevention, and where Ayush has tremendous role to play. So a new, I would say, to answer your question in short, I would say that Ayurveda and yoga together, and when I say Ayurveda and yoga, all other traditional systems are also included. But I'm just taking these examples because we are in Ayur talk. These together can pave a way towards future medicine, and future medicine will be integrative medicine, where the strengths of modern medicine, of critical care, emergency medicine will come from them, but the prevention, promotion, immunity, inflammation control, stress management, all these aspects where modern medicine has limitations, the Ayurveda and yoga can come forward. So future, there is a very good opportunity to come out with a not only evidence-based medicine. Today we talk about evidence-based medicine, but tomorrow we will have to talk about integrative medicine. It will also be evidence-based medicine, but it will be integrative medicine, and the silos which we find today with the medical disciplines will slowly dissolve, and what will emerge will be good for people. I personally feel that the health of people should be our primary responsibility. Doctors are guardians. Doctors are not just those who will give you prescription. They are guardians of health. And that is what Ayurveda and yoga has been promoting all these years. So the new model of future health, I feel that will emerge through these experiences.
I have one quick question, sir. One is regarding in the recent past, during the second wave, I had been interacting, as you rightly said, with several doctor communities across different parts of the country, and I know that there are a lot of very good results coming from Ayush interventions, especially Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, etc., in different parts of the country, geographically, wherever they are important. Uh, in Ayurvedic and Siddha case, many when the situations are becoming severe and when the patients are in dire requirement, I know that herbo-mineral drugs are being used. So this was something like a kind of a, like area before, before the current situation, but right now it has become a necessity. And how do you think it will evolve out? Will it allow the Ayurveda and Siddha medicine, which are herbo-mineral in nature, but of great importance in acute situation management or critical situation management, to be included into the mainstream once again? What do you think? How are we moving forward in that direction?
Yeah, I think that process has already started. In India already especially COVID related. I am talking about the national protocol for clinical management of COVID. The second chapter of this national protocol, there is the Ayush protocol incorporated now. So this integration already is happening, and the if I want to say Kabasura Kudini, for example, Siddha medicine. Like on Ashwagandha or Guduchi or Ayush 64, Kabasura Kudini also has lot of work has happened on Kabasura Kudini, and these tell you shortly, there is a very good empirical and preclinical evidence in favor of many rasayana drugs. Many rasayana drugs. Where it could be ashwagandha, it could be guduchi, it could be amalaki, it could also be kabasura kuduni, or it could be Unani medicines, or it could be soaripa medicines, or uh, we know for sure that many of these medicines help in immunity boosting. Now, what that immunity boosting means? In short, they have capability to improve B and T cell proliferation. They can activate natural killer cell function, NK cell activation, what we call it. Many of them have effect on balancing the Th1 and Th2 response, which is very key for immunomodulation. Many of them are known to increase CD4 and CD4 count. Many of them are known to decrease the inflammatory cytokines or interleukins like IL-1 or IL-6. And all this can play a crucial role to strengthen non-specific immunity in case of COVID, which is extremely important. And it can prevent definitely infections, not only viral infections, but several such infections. Now, the moment you come out with such kind of a scientific data, obviously these medicines are going to come in the mainstream tomorrow, because what we call it as modern medicine today, we must understand that at one point of time it was Greek traditional medicine. Just because Greek traditional medicine traveled with modern science, it became modern medicine. And unfortunately, Ayurveda and yoga and other Indian traditional systems were kept away during all this scientific revolution or industrial revolution which was happening in the West. So, but now the situation is changing. The moment Ayush and science starts working together, which we have started, and the early results we are getting are very, very encouraging. I'm sure this so-called mainstream division, what we perceive, will automatically go, and future medicine is not going to be monopoly of a particular thought process or a particular type of medicine, but future medicine will be all which stands on the test of science and also wisdom. When I talk about science, science is only what we know today, but there are several things we don't know today, which wisdom may know. So that is why the advantage or value of Ayurveda and yoga like sciences which bring in wisdom and experience becomes extremely crucial in addition to scientific experimentation, which normally we give more weightage to.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Because to just there is Dr. Cherian Varghese, who is the director of like NCD in WHO. So when I speak to him, he always says, Gita, if our forefathers had gone out in a ship across the globe and started colonizing, then probably World Health Organization would have been right now running on Ayurveda, and the traditional medicine system would have been the modern medicine sitting like you right now here in my.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like it's a big difference, sir. Of course, please, Pawanji, go ahead.
I will continue, sir, to your core area again. Coming back, what the classical Ayurvedic medicines as opposed to modern. So, how do you look at this academy, industry, and uh, Ayush industry partnership, which is fairly rare in Ayurveda sector? So, where there is no IP, where there is no branding sort of things. So, how do you bring those things, what we call as back to future, if we use the popular term? How you look at that?
Yeah, thank you. I think the industry component is very important, and there are, for example, the sponsors of this program I saw is Dudh Papeshwar and
Yes, yes,
Ayurvedishala. Now look
absolutely.
at the history and legacy which they take. Maybe hundreds of years they are in this business, so called, but that time this was not looked only as a business.
Very true.
Today also you will see that there is lot of social commitment which these businesses come with, and that is what is going to be the future. See, top of the top companies, I am telling you, top of the top pharmaceutical companies today are realizing that our model, Dr. Geeta, our current model, you will realize that our current model, meaning industry model, is based on the profits coming from people's agony. Now,
Very true.
can this be sustainable? Can we go on earning profit by making people more and more miserable? You can be successful for some time, but that cannot be sustainable. And because of this sustainable development goal debate, what is happening, SDGs debate, what is happening, and USC debate, what is happening,
Very true.
people are convinced now actually that this model, which runs on people's agony, cannot be sustained. And so we'll have to come out with new models. Now, which are these new models? New models can be based on improving people's health, protecting them from diseases. And so wellness industry is rapidly growing now. Now, what wellness industry is doing? Wellness industry is trying to really prevent or strengthen people, to protect themselves from different diseases. And you will see that a lot of top companies are now going in nutraceutical kind of a domain, wherein they are actually trying to modify the diet related components. But in this, Ayurveda has tremendous role to play. I am worried, Dr. Geeta and Dr. Pawan, that this effort should not go again on the pharmaceutical route. And just because it is easy to make nutraceuticals, hundreds of top companies start producing nutraceuticals because there is lower levels of regulatory requirements there. That's not the way to go. The way to go is create models in which you, without compromising the core knowledge which is coming. Because I believe that the knowledge which comes from Ayurveda regarding diet, or nutrition, no other system can have that. Because no other system, how much of nutrition, tell me, modern medicine would go 200 years? How many
Yes.
years you can go back, So here you are talking about the concept of rasa, how many thousand years, So these are the different languages which Ayurvedic or different epistemology which Ayurveda is presenting, or yoga also for that matter, is presenting before the world by talking about rasa, by talking about guna, by talking about the concept of triguna, both triguna as in yoga, or concept of guna in Ayurveda. All these are different concepts and different ideas. Now, these ideas should be brought in to understand science. There is science behind it. We don't understand that today. So this is how the future will go. Future should not limit our efforts only to know the medicinal plants coming from Ayurveda. It will be too myopic to look at Ayurveda as a source of new medicines. Ayurveda and yoga are much profound and much better knowledge. Another one, I'll not explain that in detail, but I think we are also not giving that much of emphasis on Rasa Dravyas or Rasa Shastra. The whole branch which is there in Ayurveda, in which they use metals and minerals and things like that, means we have ignored that huge potential, because modern medicine knows, and we also know in modern science, that metals, especially heavy metals, are bad for our health. We all know. But then we should try to understand scientifically that why these heavy metals, if prepared by the methodology which you do in Ayurveda, turn out to be safe. What is happening to them? Is it nanoscience emerging out from them? What is it? No, we should really try and understand these untapped areas. And we should not keep on, and I'm talking about industry. The industries should have a long vision, or in wellness, industry should have long vision to understand these aspects, Ayurvedic biology, what Dr. Valiathan talked about, or reverse pharmacology, what Dr. Vaidya talks about, So these are the ideas. Like one small effort started by Sharadini Dhanukar gave rise to such a huge effort to go into immunomodulation. So these are the knowledge leaders which have given us many clues. We should take those clues, and industry should shed that only restricting to medicinal plant. There is so much Ayurveda, and there can be new business models which can emerge to the industry's profit making motive. We don't want to compromise. You can make, but in our culture, there is a concept of Shubha Labh.
Yes.
So you can make profit, but there has to be a ethical way of, you cannot harass people and make profit. So this change will come only through Ayurveda mindset.
Very true. Thanks a lot, sir, for your experience. Geeta ji.
Sir. So again, 2-3 questions were there. Also, this was in the back of my mind. It is regarding the future of integrative medicine in India. And I know that there is a lot of parallel work happening on creating an integrative medical system in India. Sir, could you just explain how this evidence is being synthesized for creating this platform or creating this rollout model? And how do you think it will evolve out, and what do you see as its prospectus, and where are we moving? Like, if you can.
Yeah, thanks, Geeta. I think, Dr. Geeta, that time is ripe now, and nobody can stop the sun rising. And Ayurveda and yoga, these are the sciences of that kind. You can't really put them under the carpet for a long time. They are going to shine. They are shining even today. And many countries, I just gave a lead talk at NAMA, one of the largest association of Ayurveda in the Americas, and I could see the interest and the work that is going on with NAMA physicians doing in America. So this is what is already happening in India. That, and you are also part and contributing to that. Niti Aayog has appointed a committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Vinod Paul. I am vice chairman of that, which is considering preparing a framework for integrative medicine for India, and in which all this is getting discussed. So I think things are moving now rapidly, and I hope that very soon that realization will come that we must put people at the center. Rest, everything is secondary. Whether I am allopath or whether I am scientist or whether I am Ayurveda or I am a yoga, my question is what I can do best for people. If once we agree to this basic principle, you will see that all those egos will automatically fall down. And what will emerge, that Navneet, will be of integrative health or integrative medicine, which will be the gift from India to people. And historically in India, these experiments have been done. But at that time, they had no Rajashray at that time. So there was excellent effort which was done by Dr. Udupa at BHU. Dr. R.S. Singh continued it for one long time, for some time, and there are many such. There are many such which are there in Jamnagar also. There was a very strong. I was given PM Mehta oration, and Dr. PM Mehta was one of such modern doctor who had that kind of a passion and vision. So now all those efforts will culminate very soon, and the process will expedite to go. And in this process, I think that, and I know that the World Ayurveda Foundation like bodies are playing immense role. They will have to play even a major role to expedite this process, and I know that it is going to happen. I am quite sure about it.
Pawanji?
Yes. Sir, there are some interesting questions coming up in the chat box. Chandrakant Bhanushali ji has asked a very pertinent question which comes from Dravyaguna, classical Dravyaguna, Rasgun, Virya, Vipak kind of things, and modern Guna, the properties, how they can change. So he specifically asked, what difference do you find in the properties of herbs mentioned in textbooks and properties found in modern research? Have you any such dichotomy? Have you observed such things?
Properties, can you repeat that question? Properties?
Sir, properties of herbs mentioned in classical textbooks and what we found in modern research. Are there any differences?
Chandrakantji, again a very good question. I have always interacted with him, and he is one industrialist who comes with very frank and scientific, inquisitive mind. I must tell you that this is the area of research which is not happening to the extent which it should happen. For example, herb which are described in Charaka. Take simple example of Trifala.
Yes.
Now, Trifala explained by Charaka is excellent, and I have seen and we have developed actually the network pharmacology of Trifala, which explains that why Trifala can be used for several different conditions. Just one drug, but if used differently with different anupana, can be used for different purposes. No, but who knows that what Charaka has said is valid today? Because environment has changed, people have changed, the world has changed. So Amla also has changed, Haritaki also has changed. So it is our responsibility to take that and show today that what Charak had told 4,000, 5,000 years ago is true even today. That I don't see happening. Even if we don't have Bhanushali ji, we don't have simple pharmacoepidemiological data on most widely used formulation like Trifala. Now, if I ask how much of Trifala is consumed in India, give me last 10-year data. We won't be able. So this kind of, and this, for doing this research, you don't need complicated and sophisticated laboratories. This data is pharmacoepidemiological data. So I think industries also should really go in, not necessarily for developing formulations and selling them in the market. That is their job and they should do it. But they should not stop there. There are several other areas in which industries can contribute. And I know that many are already doing it, but we want many more to come and join this bandwagon.
Thanks a lot, sir. It was excellent talk. As always, so we would like to hear in detail what Ranjit Puranik ji has been saying, that detailed views of Bhushan ji on what A.B. Vaidya sir has suggested. So maybe a special episode of AYUR Talks on just that, because it will take that much time. I hope that you will give that time to us, as you have been always supporting us.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for your time, your experience. Geeta ji, we can have a time of a very quick question on, sir, your views on Corona, again, third wave. If you can just wrap it up very quickly at the fag end of our talks.
No, I don't know, Pawan, whether that is third wave, to call it as third wave or what it is. But there is a problem that we are really facing a big problem of authenticated data regarding Corona. I am really concerned about this, that every time we are changing the guards, every time we are changing our stand, and changing this too rapidly is not good. Really. It is, and I think our focus on prevention we must bring back. Today there is no focus on prevention. No, if we are able to really protect people, vaccine is one. But there are
Yes.
several other ways. Ayurveda, Guruchi and Ashwagandha and many things, the Kabasura Kudini or whatever, why are we are not using aggressively at national level? Why we are shying away? Ministry of Ayush is doing that great effort, but why not others are also open-heartedly joining that? Why they are so skeptical? Why they are not asking these questions regarding evidence when remdesivir black market is going on, when WHO has clearly told that remdesivir is not a life-saving drug? So these are some of the questions. I can talk about an hour on this, but I don't want to get into that now.
Okay, sir. So some other time. So we thank you on the behalf of World Ayurveda Foundation. You have given us the time and your experience. Thanks a lot again. Geeta ji, you have also spared time to co-host this beautiful talk with our own very beloved Bhushan ji. I thank Chandrasekhar ji on the back end of this platform and extended family of Nasya, JIM, our sponsors Dhoot Papeshwar, Arya Vidyashala Kotakkal, and all the audience. I was very happy to see AB Vaidya ji also participating actively in this Ayur Talks on such a gratifying feeling. Thank you very much, AB Vaidya sir, and all the audience like Bhanushali ji and Ranik ji, Jwala Prasad Mishra. Everybody, thanks, and looking forward to see you next week again on the next episode of Ayur Talks. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.